The cold wind howled outside as 8-year-old Amina sat by the window, watching the streetlights flicker in her rundown East Detroit neighborhood. The radiator clanked in protest as it tried to keep the old house warm. Her mother, Tanya, had just returned from her night shift at the nursing home. Exhausted, coat damp with snow, and nerves fried from another double shift. Amina was quiet as always, too quiet. Her eyes were big, wide with unspoken fears. She didn't run to hug her mom anymore, not since he moved in. Tanya noticed the bruises, noticed how her daughter had become more withdrawn. But life had been hard. When Michael came along, charming, steady job, sweet at first, she thought she'd finally caught a break. At first, the changes were subtle. Amina no longer wanted to eat dinner with them. She flinched when Michael entered the room. She started wetting the bed again. Tanya chalked it up to a phase. Stress. Adjustment. Then came the whisper. "Mommy, he hurts me." It was so faint, Tanya thought she imagined it. "What did you say, baby?" she asked. Amina shook her head and said nothing, eyes to the floor. Michael, standing just behind the kitchen wall, lit a cigarette. He said nothing, but his gaze was sharp, watchful. Days passed, then weeks. Tanya wanted to believe it was all in her head, but the whispers continued. At school, Amina's teacher, Miss Phillips, began noticing changes too. The once bubbly child had become silent. Her drawings were now full of black smears and jagged red lines. One had a stick figure, small and alone, beneath a towering shadow. She said something strange today, Miss Phillips told Tanya during a parent-teacher conference. She said someone visits her at night and tells her not to scream. Tanya froze. I'll talk to her, she stammered. But she didn't. Back at home, Michael had grown colder, more controlling. He started dictating when Tanya could leave, who she could talk to. He told her Amina was just acting out for attention, that she was lying, that Tanya was being a bad mother for listening to a child's crazy imagination. The gaslighting worked. Tanya began to doubt herself, until one night, Amina screamed. It was a piercing sound that cut through the walls like a razor. Tanya rushed to her room, finding Michael standing in the doorway, shirtless, belt in hand. "What the hell are you doing?" she yelled. Michael stepped back, smirking. "She wet the bed again. I'm just teaching her a lesson." Amina, curled in a corner, sobbed uncontrollably. Her arms had welts. Tanya grabbed her daughter, wrapped her in a blanket, and called the police. But what happened next? That's what'll haunt you. The police arrived 17 minutes after Tanya's call. Michael sat calmly on the couch, shirt on now, flipping through a football game. Amina, shivering and silent, clung to Tanya's side. The officer, a tired-looking white man in his 50s, took one look around and asked flatly, "So what seems to be the issue?" Tanya explained in a rush, the belt, the bruises, the screams. Amina barely said a word. She stared at the floor. The officer turned to Michael. "Sir, did you strike the child?" Michael shook his head. "Not a chance, officer. The girl's been having nightmares. She screamed because she was scared. I never touched her." The officer's eyes narrowed. "And the welts? She's been scratching herself in her sleep," Michael replied coolly. "You can ask the school. They know she has night terrors." Tanya's voice trembled. "She told me." "She told you what, ma'am?" The officer interrupted, almost annoyed. "Did you see him hit her?" Tanya hesitated. "No, but she." No marks on his hands. No eyewitnesses. No broken furniture. No physical evidence. He paused. "Unless the child wants to make a formal statement. I just want him gone." Tanya snapped. Michael smirked. "I live here. You're the one who invited me." The officer sighed. "Look, ma'am, without a formal complaint, there's nothing we can do. If you want him out, you'll have to file for a restraining order and pursue this in family court." And just like that, the moment passed. The sirens faded. The system failed. Again. Back at school, Miss Phillips wasn't letting go. She documented everything. Every bruise, every strange drawing, every day Amina didn't speak. She flagged it up the chain, spoke to the school counselor, but the Child Protective Services visit was brief, 15 minutes of polite questions and surface smiles. Amina wouldn't speak, not fully, not when they asked the hard questions. Her small voice was drowned by fear. By the time CPS left, they marked the case as inconclusive. Michael, who'd been outside smoking during the visit, came back in with quiet rage in his eyes. That night, Amina didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She just stared at the bracelet on her wrist, a tiny purple one her mother gave her, and cried into her pillow. 2 weeks later, Tanya went missing. That's right, Tanya, the mother. Neighbors said they saw her leave for work around 7:30 p.m. Her coworkers said she never arrived. Her phone was found near an abandoned overpass 8 miles away. Screen cracked, battery dead. Michael told police she must have run away. She's been under stress. Maybe she snapped. The police believed him. There was no forced entry, no blood, no signs of foul play. And just like that, Tanya Johnson became one of the 64,000 black women missing in America. The system shrugged and moved on. But Amina didn't forget. Amina was placed into the system. With her mother missing and no immediate family willing to step in, the court made a quick decision. She was sent to a foster home in another part of town. Michael never fought for custody. He simply disappeared, like he was never part of her life. Amina arrived at her new home with nothing but a backpack, a pair of jeans, and the bracelet, the purple one her mom gave her. She stopped speaking entirely. Her new foster mother, Miss Rosa, was a middle-aged woman with a thick Dominican accent and a house full of other girls. She didn't ask questions. She just gave Amina a warm meal, a safe bed, and the patience to let her speak when she was ready. And Amina, slowly, began to whisper the truth. At night, she'd speak into the dark. He hurt Mommy. He made her scream too. He said if I talked, they'd put me in the ground. Miss Rosa, who had seen many broken children pass through her home, didn't dismiss those whispers. She wrote them down. She filed reports. She called the detective who had handled Tanya's case, and was promptly told there was no new information. No body, no crime, the detective said flatly. But Miss Rosa didn't stop. She reached out to a local journalist, Melanie Cross, a sharp black reporter with a reputation for digging into stories the police wanted buried. Melanie listened. Then she visited Amina. What she saw chilled her. Amina was drawing again. This time it wasn't monsters. It was her mother, in a trunk. It was Michael holding something sharp. It was blood, a highway sign, an overpass. Melanie took one look at the drawings and said, "This is a map." For the next 2 weeks, Melanie did what police hadn't. She dug. She pulled Tanya's phone records. She tracked the last ping to the same overpass where the phone was found. She studied every security cam in the vicinity. And then, in an old highway gas station camera feed, from a business that hadn't even been looked at during the original investigation, she found something. Michael's car, parked under the bridge at 7:49 p.m. the night Tanya vanished. Not Tanya's car, Michael's. And guess what? It had a dent in the side that wasn't there before. Melanie took the footage to the precinct. The officer on duty was polite and disinterested. "That's circumstantial," he said. "There's no proof anything happened." But Melanie wasn't done. She published the article anyway. The system failed Amina. A missing mother, a silent daughter, and the man who vanished. The story exploded. National coverage. Social media outrage. Hashtags. Protests. Hashtag justice for Tanya. Hashtag believe black girls. And then the break came. A man at a junkyard outside of Atlanta, over 200 miles away, read the article. He remembered a car dumped months ago, left by a man who paid in cash and left without a name. He went out to the back lot, checked the old Chrysler with the dented side panel, and popped the trunk. Inside was a decomposed body wrapped in plastic bags and a blue work shirt. Next to the body, a half-burned receipt from a gas station, and a purple bracelet. Tanya had been found. The call came at 6:13 a.m. Melanie Cross had barely slept when her phone lit up. It was the Atlanta Police Department. "We found her." Those words sent shockwaves through her chest. Tanya Mitchell had been officially missing for 2 years, 3 months, and 7 days. And now, at long last, her body had been found. Abandoned in a junkyard, discarded like trash. But it wasn't just the discovery that broke the news. It was the details. The bracelet confirmed the body. Amina had drawn it perfectly. The same beaded charm, still dangling loosely around the skeletal wrist. That tiny detail, remembered by a little girl no one believed, had just solved a murder. And the evidence didn't stop there. Inside the lining of the trunk were DNA traces from both Tanya and Michael. There were scratches in the fabric, a broken nail, hers. Autopsy reports would later confirm Tanya had suffered blunt force trauma and asphyxiation. The police could no longer turn their eyes away. Michael Thurman was now the prime suspect. But by then, he was gone. His apartment was empty. His work had no record of him for months. His bank account had been drained in small amounts, strategically. And in one final gut-wrenching twist, his ID was found in a trash bin outside a bus station in South Carolina. It was clear he'd planned this, but what he hadn't planned for was a 7-year-old's courage. Amina, now living in a more permanent home with Miss Rosa, was finally seen. Her words had led to justice. The nation watched as vigils were held. Murals were painted. Donations poured in for girls like Amina, for children who were told to go play when they were crying out for help. Melanie Cross won a journalism award for her investigation, but she refused the spotlight. "Give Amina the mic," she told the press. "She deserves to be heard." And when Amina, now 8, stood in front of the camera at the community center, clutching her mother's bracelet in her tiny fist, she said just 6 words. "I told you, he hurt me, and this time, everyone listened." Thank you for watching Silent Stories, where the unheard are finally heard. If Amina's story moved you, drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Your voice, your story, your city. It all matters. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe,